A new week and a new round of testimony from the witness stand in the Alex Murdaugh murder trial. Why some of the jurors were dismissed from this high-profile case. Plus, what a DNA expert had to say about evidence found underneath a victim's fingernails that could be a win for the defense.
We can't really tell you how or when the DNA got there.
Law&Crime Daily, covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everybody to Law&Crime Daily. I'm Jesse Weber and thanks for joining us. New information about the presence of DNA underneath Maggie Murdaugh's fingernails could be a pivotal revelation in the murder trial against her husband, disgraced South Carolina attorney Alex Murdaugh. DNA from an unidentified male was found underneath her fingernails after she and her son Paul were found shot to death at their country estate. Now, Paul and Alex were being excluded as the contributors, but the analysis couldn't really go much further because there wasn't enough to really create a DNA profile. DNA analyst Sara Zapata was just one SLED analyst to testify Monday. On cross-examination, the defense wanted to hammer home that there could have been another person at the scene, but Zapata explained it's not that simple.
Were you all aware, as we've had previous testimony, that Maggie Murdaugh had been to a nail salon late that afternoon?
I did not have any information about that, no.
So if her nails were quite clean coming to Moselle, she doesn't have a lot of opportunity to have contact with unrelated males.
Testifying.
I overrule the objection.
So if her nails were clean coming to Moselle, it doesn't appear that she has much opportunity to have that kind of contact with unrelated males, does it?
It could be DNA, DNA under fingernails. You're picking up DNA anytime you touch an item, potentially. If she did get her nails done, it's possible that somewhere at the nail salon there was DNA that she picked up under her fingernails. We can't really tell you how or when the DNA got there, but at any point in time between getting her nails done and arriving home, she could touch an object, and potentially DNA from that object could be under her fingernails, or she can touch an individual and their DNA be under her fingernails in that way.
And the drama didn't end there. You see, Judge Clifton Newman started court by announcing that 2 jurors had to be released from jury service because they tested positive for COVID-19. The judge gave the jurors the option of wearing a mask in court, but didn't make it a requirement. He also encouraged others in the courtroom to mask up. 2 alternate jurors are going to be part of the regular panel, which leaves 3 alternates left over. Another was dismissed earlier on in the case. The defense suggested pausing the trial for a few days, but Judge Newman decided that the trial will continue for now. Let's get some perspective from Terry, Austin, Brian, Buckmeyer. Terry, 2 jurors tested positive for COVID. If another juror tests positive, I'm thinking possible mistrial here. What do you think?
I'm thinking that could very well be possible. We've seen it, but it doesn't happen very often. In the Danny Masterson case, you may recall that a couple of jurors were dismissed because of COVID. And in that case, they just sent 2 more in, and that was during deliberations. I don't think we're going to have a mistrial here. First of all, it's not during deliberations, and all of the jurors and all of the alternates have heard all of the evidence. So we still have 3 more alternates to go, and it's possible that 1 or 2 more may have COVID or may get COVID. But the judge did say they were tested on Monday and they're going to be tested again on Wednesday. So he's basically just taking it day by day. He's not calling any big, mistrials.
Well, let's not even put that in the air. Brian, SLED agent Sara Zapata testified there was unidentified male DNA under Maggie's fingernails. That felt like a big win for the defense.
And it was, Jesse. And I think the defense could have done a little bit more to shore it up. Her explanation of how DNA got under Maggie's fingernails, or could have, didn't seem very clear to me. I mean, you just sat down at a table where Bob Bianchi was sitting not too long ago. So you probably have some of Bob's DNA on your hand, but probably not enough for it to register like something under the fingernails. I get what the defense is trying to do. Maybe she fought her attacker and that person's DNA is under their fingernails. They also got out of this witness that they did not compare that DNA to CODIS, the national database, to see if this person was a convicted felon or who this unidentified male was. I think that could raise reasonable doubt. Whether or not it's enough to avoid this conviction, that's another question.
Brian, you lost me at I have Bob's DNA all over my hands. Now I can't think about anything else. But the show will continue, and I'll tell you what. If you want to keep up on the latest on the Murdaugh murder mystery, it's all on lawandcrime.com. We have links to live streams, court exhibits, and of course, expert insight. Welcome back, everybody. We're bringing you the latest out of Broward County, Florida, in the murder trial of rising rap artist XXXTENTACION. A cooperating witness continues to testify against his 3 alleged accomplices, and the attorney for one of hip-hop's biggest names is fighting to keep his client far away from this case. The victim's real name is Jose Onfroy. He was 20 years old when he was gunned down during a robbery at a motorcycle dealership in 2018. Prosecutors believe defendants Michael Boatwright and Trayvon Newsom carried out the attack, and a third co-defendant, Dedrick Williams, drove the getaway car at the scene. A fourth co-defendant, Robert Allen, took a plea deal in exchange for a possibly reduced sentence, and part of that deal has him landing on the witness stand for several days. We also reported that Aubrey Graham, also known as high-profile rapper Drake, will have to appear for a deposition later this month. You see, defense attorneys argued that he's tied to a possible conspiracy to kill Onfroy because they had an ongoing feud at the time of his death. On Monday, Drake's attorney appeared in court arguing against the singer being associated with the case altogether.
At this point, I think you have a cooperating witness that corroborates that Mr. Graham has nothing to do with this case. Mr. Graham is not listed in any report. Mr. Graham, I don't believe, has been discussed whatsoever in this case, to my knowledge, other than rumor and innuendo. And I believe that if I was hired earlier, I would have probably filed a motion to quash that deposition itself. Because, like I said, there needs to be some good faith showing. At least, his phone was in the area. He was in the state of Florida at the time. There's some sort of communication. There's something. And there's absolutely no evidence whatsoever other than rumor and innuendo.
We felt that the defense raised at least, through what he said, the barest level to allow for discovery. And, we have wide open discovery here. This is a first-degree murder case. Defendants are facing potentially life in Florida State Prison. And the court doesn't want to be in a position that at some later point they say, well, but for having taken this deposition, so let's do it all over again.
So now the question becomes, what will the defense ask Drake in that deposition? Well, we spoke with trial attorney and former Judge Fanon Rucker to find out what we can expect.
The exploration of the relationship between any of these 4 folks and anybody associated with Drake's camp. So they're going to be asking about who his producers were, who his connections are in this part of the country, who may be connected to who. They're going to be doing an FBI type board with everybody's pictures and strings and letters and numbers matching with different hoods and families.
So, Sarah, you've said that Drake shouldn't be forced to testify in court, but what do you think about him being forced to submit to a deposition?
Well, you heard the judge there. He thinks that he wants to avoid any sort of appeal issue, but I agree with Drake's attorney. Look, this is rumor and innuendo. He should not have to come to testify. There is nothing connecting him to this crime. Having said that, I do think if he's ordered to go, he should just go. He should answer the questions. The last thing he wants to do is to be held in contempt for something that he has nothing to do with. Right now, he can go in, he can answer the questions, he can say he wasn't there, and he will be relieved, I think. And it will avoid him having to come to trial, because at that point, the judge can say, not necessary.
Okay, Brian, seems by all accounts he's going to be deposed. He deposed, he answers all the questions, then what happens?
I don't think we're even going to hear or see what Aubrey Graham or Drake ends up testifying to, because I think this is a fishing expedition, or a better way of saying it, the defense is just shaking every tree to see what falls out. I think it's ridiculous to think that a person's rap lyrics can somehow have them forced into a court to answer silly questions that could have easily been examined through, like the defense attorney for Drake was suggesting, where was he at the time of the murders? What was his communications? I think we're going to see, I don't know, yes, I was here, I plead the fifth, I don't know this. And I think at the end of the day, we get this deposition and neither side sees any relevance or any reason to actually input it into the case. I think the judge already gave it away. I just want to cross my T's and dot my I's and make sure that this doesn't come back on appeal because we never did it. I think they do it, it's a waste of time, and we move forward with the case.
See, I think it's just for the defense showing that investigators didn't look at all of the theories. I don't think it's really suggesting Drake did it, but hey, how come you weren't questioned by any detectives? I think that's maybe where they might be going, but we'll wait and see. So let's actually turn to another hip-hop case, this one out of Atlanta, where jury selection slowly continues in the RICO trial of rapper Young Thug and his alleged gang Young Slime Life. 14 people face gang-related charges, including 2 murders of rival gang members. Jury selection started in early January and has been constantly interrupted by courtroom mishaps, most notably several incidents of drug contraband being smuggled into the courtroom, and there's even been issues with the potential jurors themselves. One person didn't show up for jury duty, and in order to avoid prison time, the judge forced them to write a 30-page essay on why jury duty is important. Most recently, a potential juror was held in contempt over contacting a reporter about the status of jury selection. Now, the judge spared them 20 days in jail by ordering 10 hours of community service. Speaking about the subject of behavior, choices, and consequences, they're also going to have to attend the first 5 days of the trial once it starts.